Who let you teach my kids? The voice slices through the quiet of the playroom, sharp and cold as the polished marble floor. It belongs to Mr. Harrison, a man built of straight lines and hard angles, from the severe part in his dark hair to the razor-sharp crease in his trousers. He stands in the doorway, a thundercloud in a bespoke suit, his presence sucking the warmth from the air. Amara doesn't flinch. She remains on her knees on the plush white rug, a still point in the storm of his arrival. Her posture is one of quiet service, her back straight, her hands resting lightly on her own knees. Before her, 7-year-old Leo is the opposite of still. He's frozen, a statue of pure panic, his small shoulders hunched up to his ears. His wide, terrified eyes are glued to the open page of a picture book, but they aren't seeing the colorful drawings of a little boat on a vast ocean. They are seeing a monster. "I asked you a question," Mr. Harrison says, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous rumble. He steps into the room, his expensive leather shoes making no sound on the thick rug, a predator closing in. "Your role in this house is clearly defined. It does not and will never include educator." He makes quotation marks in the air with his fingers, a gesture of pure contempt. He thinks he is walking into a simple scene of insubordination, the help overstepping her bounds. He sees Amara in her simple gray uniform as an unqualified woman playing teacher with his son. He sees a problem to be corrected, a boundary to be reinforced with the blunt instrument of his authority. What he doesn't see is the intricate, delicate work that was happening just seconds before he arrived. He doesn't see the hours Amara has spent building a fragile bridge of trust to this anxious, overwhelmed little boy. He doesn't see the silent language that passes between them, the way Amara's calm breathing serves as an anchor for Leo's stormy emotions. He doesn't see that for the first time in weeks, Leo was on the verge of making a sound, of attempting to unlock the terrifying jumble of symbols on the page. All he sees is his son's failure, reflected and magnified. Leo's knuckles are white where he grips the book. A single tear traces a path down his cheek, but he makes no sound. Sound is the enemy. Sound is the demand to read, to perform, to be like his twin sister Chloe, who devours books like candy. For Leo, words on a page are a locked door, and his father stands behind him, rattling the handle with impatient fury. Amara finally raises her head, her gaze meeting Mr. Harrison's. Her eyes are deep and calm, and in their depths there is no fear, only a profound, sorrowful understanding. She doesn't offer an excuse or an apology. She simply holds his gaze, a silent refusal to accept his narrative. This, more than anything, seems to fuel his rage. He is a man accustomed to employees who shrink, who stammer, who apologize for their very existence in his orbit. Amara's quiet dignity is a foreign language he cannot decipher. "Would you endure this kind of misjudgment, this complete erasure of your worth, day after day?" "We were just looking at the pictures, Mr. Harrison," she says, her voice as soft and even as her gaze. It's a strategic retreat, a de-escalation, but it's not an apology. "Don't lie to me," he snaps. "I heard you. You were making sounds. Buh. Are you a speech therapist now? Did you get a degree I'm unaware of?" His words are laced with sarcasm, designed to shrink her, to put her back in the box labeled caregiver, a box for a person who is paid to be present but not seen, to manage schedules but not minds. Leo flinches at his father's tone. The book slips from his trembling fingers and falls shut on the rug with a soft, defeated thud. The little boat on the ocean is gone. The story is over. The monster has won. Mr. Harrison sees the boy's reaction and misinterprets it completely, directing his frustration at Amara. "You see, you're making it worse. You're pressuring him." His assessment is tomorrow morning with a real professional. Your job was to keep him calm and regulated, and you can't even do that. He strides over to the wall, a vast, white expanse broken only by a single, sleekly framed digital screen. He taps it, and a schedule illuminates the space, a complex grid of color-coded activities. 700 a.m. nutritional intake. 730 a.m. cognitive play logic puzzles. 815 a.m. Mandarin language immersion. It is the life of a tiny CEO, scheduled down to the minute, optimized for peak performance. There is no block of time labeled patience. There is no space for empathy. Amara watches him, her heart aching for the little boy who is so much more than a project to be managed. She knows that Leo's silence isn't defiance. It's fear. And the imposing figure of his father is the source of that fear. But she cannot say this. To say it would be an act of war. And in this house, she is a soldier with no weapons, no armor, only a quiet, unshakable belief that this child is worth fighting for in the only way she can, by absorbing the blows meant for him. "I apologize if I have overstepped, Mr. Harrison," she says, the words tasting like ash in her mouth. It is what he needs to hear, the verbal bow of submission that will, hopefully, end the confrontation. He gives a sharp, dissatisfied nod, his anger receding now that his dominance has been re-established. "See that you don't again." He turns to leave, then pauses in the doorway, his back to them. "And put that book away. He doesn't need any more reminders of what he can't do." With that final casual cruelty, he is gone. The silence he leaves behind is heavier, colder than before. Amara looks at Leo, who is now curled into a tight ball on the rug, his face hidden. She reaches out, not to touch him, but to gently pick up the fallen book. She runs her hand over the worn cover, a silent promise to the boy on the boat and to the boy on the floor. The battle was lost, but the war for Leo's voice had only just begun. Mr. Harrison's presence lingers long after he's gone, a cold spot in the warm, sunlit room. Amara remains on the floor, letting the silence settle, giving Leo the space he needs to uncurl from his defensive ball. She doesn't speak. She just breathes, a slow, steady rhythm for him to follow. Eventually, a small, damp face peeks out from the crook of his arm. His eyes are red-rimmed, his expression a mixture of shame and exhaustion. Just then, Mr. Harrison reappears in the doorway. He doesn't enter this time, he just leans against the frame, a document in his hand. "Further to my point," he begins, his voice devoid of the earlier rage but filled with a chillingly detached authority. "I've just printed Dr. Albright's pre-assessment protocol. It states clearly, the subject must not be exposed to stressful stimuli for at least 12 hours prior to evaluation." He looks pointedly at the book still resting on the floor beside Amara. It's a lovely thing, really. The cover illustration shows a small, hand-drawn boy in a tiny sailboat, looking up at a sky full of swirling watercolor clouds. The title, in gentle, looping script, reads "The Boy Who Chased the Echo." It's been Leo's favorite and most hated object for 6 months. He brings it to Amara every day, and every day the words lock him in a silent prison. "That book," Mr. Harrison says, his lip curling in a faint sneer, "is a stressful stimulus." It is the very definition of the word for him. To you, it might look like a story. To him, it's a monument to his own inadequacy. Amara feels a familiar, hot knot of frustration tighten in her stomach, but her expression remains a mask of serene neutrality. She knows the book is not the problem. The book is the key. Leo isn't drawn to it because of self-torture. He's drawn to it because he desperately wants to unlock the story within. He wants to know if the boy ever catches the echo. The pressure to perform, the clinical timetables, the constant comparison to his sister, that is the stressful stimulus. Her job description, pinned to a corkboard in the staff kitchen, is a testament to this philosophy. It lists duties like wardrobe coordination, nutritional schedule adherence, and liaison with external tutors. It is a document about managing the logistics of a child's life, not nurturing his soul. Her uniform, a soft gray tunic and trousers, is designed to be invisible, to blend into the pale, minimalist decor of the Harrison penthouse. She is a ghost who organizes things. "He chose the book himself, sir," Amara says softly, a small act of defiance. Mr. Harrison dismisses this with a wave of his hand. "He's a child. He doesn't know what's good for him. That's why we, the adults, make the decisions." He taps the laminated schedule on the wall, its rigid grid a stark contrast to the book's gentle curves. "This is what's good for him. Structure, discipline, measurable progress. Dr. Albright will provide that. Your job is to facilitate it, nothing more." The unspoken threat hangs in the air. You are replaceable. The schedule is not. Inside, Amara feels the sting of erasure. He speaks as if she isn't there, reducing her years of patient, observant care into a simple, transactional function. It's 1,000 tiny paper cuts, the daily microaggressions of being seen as the help. She is the hands that prepare the gluten-free snacks, the voice that reminds him of his violin lesson, the shadow that tidies the chaos in his wake. To Mr. Harrison, she is not a person with a history, with knowledge, with insight. She is a utility. Would you tolerate this daily chipping away at your identity? She gives a slow, deliberate nod. I understand, Mr. Harrison. He looks at her for a moment longer, searching for any sign of dissent. Finding none in her placid expression, he seems satisfied. He turns and walks away, the document in his hand the final word on the matter. Leo watches him go, then his gaze drifts back to the book on the floor. He doesn't reach for it. He just looks, his small face a portrait of longing and fear. That afternoon, while the twins are with their Mandarin tutor, Mr. Harrison summons Amara to his home office. The room is like the man himself, immaculate, intimidating, and smelling faintly of expensive cologne and ambition. A vast glass desk sits before a floor-to-ceiling window that offers a panoramic view of the city below, a kingdom he has clearly conquered. He doesn't ask her to sit. He remains standing, looking out the window, his back to her. Dr. Albright's office called to confirm her arrival time tomorrow. 9 a.m. sharp, he says, his voice reflecting off the glass. Her assessments are thorough. She will identify the precise nature of Leo's processing deficit, and then she will design a targeted, aggressive intervention program. The words aggressive intervention send a chill down Amara's spine. She pictures Leo's fragile confidence being dismantled by a battery of timed tests and cold, clinical evaluations. She pictures him being labeled, categorized, and filed away as a problem to be solved by the most expensive methods available. I need to be clear about my expectations for you, Amara, he continues, finally turning to face her. His eyes are like chips of ice. Your sole function between now and then is to ensure a smooth runway for her arrival. The children are to be fed, rested, and calm. There will be no unstructured activities. There will be no emotional outbursts. And there will be absolutely no more of your amateur attempts at pedagogy. He pauses, letting the weight of his instructions settle. This is the moment. The line is being drawn not in sand but in concrete. The success of this assessment is paramount, he says, his voice low and intense. It is the first step in getting Leo back on track, of ensuring he is not left behind. I am investing a significant amount of capital into this process. I will not have that investment squandered by well-meaning but ultimately unqualified interference. He looks directly at her, his meaning crystal clear. She is the unqualified interference. If Leo is agitated, if he is uncooperative, if he refuses to engage with Dr. Albright tomorrow, I will not blame him. I will know that he was not properly prepared. I will know that my instructions were not followed, and I will hold you directly and solely responsible. The ultimatum lands with the force of a physical blow. He has constructed a perfect cage. He has set Leo up for a stressful, frightening experience, and he has decreed that any negative reaction from the child will be Amara's fault. He has made her the designated scapegoat for a failure he himself is engineering. She cannot win. If she follows his orders and Leo panics, she will be blamed. If she defies his orders to protect Leo, she will be fired for insubordination. There is no way back. The conflict is no longer just about a little boy and a book. It is about her own professional integrity and her duty of care. She is trapped between a father's ego and a child's well-being. What would you do next? You understand what I'm saying, Amara? He asks, his voice sharp. She takes a slow breath, her heart pounding a steady, defiant rhythm against her ribs. She can't save her job. She knows that now, but maybe, just maybe, she can save the boy. Yes, Mr. Harrison, she says, her voice unwavering. Your instructions are perfectly clear. Later that evening, the storm breaks. The pressure of the impending assessment, compounded by a frustrating session with his math tutor, has pushed Leo to his absolute limit. Amara finds him in the playroom, hiding under the small table, his breath coming in ragged, panicked gasps. He's clutching the boy who chased the echo to his chest like a shield. His twin sister, Chloe, is trying to help in the only way she knows how, with words. It's easy, Leo, just sound it out. Look, the ba-oi-wa-huo si. She's a bright, confident child, and her fluency is usually a source of joy. But right now, Her effortless command of language is like gasoline on the fire of Leo's anxiety. Every word she reads is a testament to his own perceived failure. He lets out a choked sob and presses his hands over his ears, shutting her out. Chloe's face falls. "I'm just trying to help," she says, looking to Amara for validation. Amara gives her a gentle smile and a quiet nod. "I know you are, sweet girl. Why don't you go pick out a story for me to read to you later?" Chloe, relieved to be given a new mission, scampers off to the bookshelf. Amara then turns her full attention to the trembling boy under the table. She doesn't try to coax him out. She doesn't use words. She simply gets down on the floor, sliding a flat, shallow container of shimmering blue kinetic sand to the edge of the table near his feet. She says nothing. She just runs her own fingers through the cool, silky sand, letting it cascade through her fingers. The sound is a soft, gentle hiss. After a minute, a small, trembling hand reaches out from under the table and touches the sand. Amara still doesn't speak. She uses her index finger to slowly, deliberately draw the letter B in the sand. Big, looping curves. She then gently takes Leo's hand and guides his finger over the same shape. He resists for a second, then allows her to lead him. They trace the letter together, again and again. She is connecting the symbol to a physical, sensory experience, bypassing the overloaded anxiety circuits in his brain and creating a new, calmer pathway. It is a technique used by speech-language pathologists, a quiet, non-performative display of a skill no one in this house knows she possesses. Chloe, having selected her book, has returned and is watching from the doorway, utterly silent. She sees the tension drain from her brother's shoulders. She sees his breathing begin to even out. She can't articulate what she's witnessing, but she knows it's a kind of magic she has never seen before. Did you catch what she just did? It wasn't just playing in the sand. It was a masterclass in therapeutic communication, happening in silence on a playroom floor. Slowly, Leo crawls out from under the table. He doesn't look at Amara, but he keeps his hand in the sand, tracing the letter B on his own. It's a tiny victory, a small reclamation of power. But in the face of the coming storm of Dr. Albright's assessment, it feels as fragile as a sandcastle against the tide. The house grows quiet. Chloe is asleep, and the city lights have begun to glitter in the vast, dark windows of the penthouse. Amara is in the kitchen, preparing a warm cup of milk for Leo, a nightly ritual they both cherish. He appears in the doorway, a small, pajama-clad silhouette. He's not holding the book. His hands are empty. She smiles and hands him the cup. He takes it with both hands, the warmth seeming to seep into him. They stand in comfortable silence for a moment, the hum of the high-end refrigerator the only sound. This is their time. In these quiet, transitional moments of the day before sleep, after a difficult tutoring session, their bond solidifies, away from the demanding gaze of his father. Leo looks up at her, his eyes serious. He takes one hand off his cup and lifts it, his small fingers forming a gesture. He places his thumb on his chest, then moves his flat hand in a gentle, rolling motion away from his body. It's a gesture she taught him, a simple, modified sign she created just for him. It means breathe out the sad. Amara's heart clenches. She mirrors the sign back to him, her own hand over her chest, rolling it forward. Breathe out the sad. It is their secret, a piece of a language built just for two. In a world that constantly demands words he cannot produce, she has given him a way to speak without speaking. This connection, this profound and silent understanding, is the anchor of his emotional world. If you were there, would you step closer to that silent conversation, or would you stay silent, respecting its private sanctity? He then does something that surprises her. He reaches out and gently takes her hand, placing it on his own small chest, so she can feel his breathing, which is now slow and steady. He looks her directly in the eye, a clear, powerful message passing between them. You did this. You made me safe. In that moment, her fate is sealed. Mr. Harrison's ultimatum, the threat to her job, the very real possibility of being cast out of this child's life, it all fades into the background. This is no longer about employment. It is a moral imperative. This child trusts her. He has given her the key to his silent world, and she has a duty to protect it and him, at any cost. To stand by and watch Dr. Albright's aggressive intervention dismantle this fragile peace would be an unforgivable betrayal. Her quiet vow from the night before solidifies into a concrete plan. She will not let him face the storm alone. Amara knows Dr. Albright, not personally, but by reputation. During her master's program in speech-language pathology, Dr. Albright's work was often cited as a case study, a cautionary tale of what not to do. Her methodology, the Albright Articulation Protocol, was famous in academic circles for its rigidity and its stunning lack of consideration for comorbidity with anxiety or sensory processing disorders. The protocol is a weapon disguised as a diagnostic tool. It operates on a pass-slash-fail system of rapid-fire phonemic drills. It is designed to expose deficits, not to discover strengths. For a child like Leo, whose reading block is intrinsically linked to performance anxiety, the protocol is the equivalent of trying to cure a fear of heights by pushing someone off a cliff. It is designed to make him fail, and to fail spectacularly. As she tidies the playroom, putting the kinetic sand away, the full architecture of the trap becomes terrifyingly clear. Mr. Harrison, in his desperate need for a clear-cut problem with a clear-cut solution, has sought out a specialist who will give him exactly that. Dr. Albright will not see a sensitive child who needs a different path to learning. She will see a dataset of errors. She will produce a color-coded chart demonstrating Leo's deficiencies and recommend an expensive, intensive program that will likely traumatize him further, confirming Mr. Harrison's worst fears and validating his investment. The trap isn't just for Leo, it's for her too. Mr. Harrison's ultimatum has made her the guardian of Leo's compliance. When Leo inevitably panics and shuts down in the face of the Albright protocol, it will be presented as proof of Amara's failure to prepare him. His predictable reaction will be weaponized against her. Have you ever seen a rule, a policy, or a protocol used not to help, but to punish? She stands in the center of the silent playroom, the city lights twinkling far below. She is caught in a perfect, brutal machine. The choice before her is stark. She can comply with Mr. Harrison's orders, present Leo for the assessment, and watch him be dismantled. In doing so, she would lose her own self-respect, betraying every principle she learned and the profound trust the child has placed in her. Or she can resist. She can use her hidden knowledge to intervene to protect him. In doing so, she would be fired for gross insubordination, losing the very access she needs to help him in the long term. Comply and lose her dignity. Resist and lose her job. There is no third option. The system is designed to perfection, ensuring that no matter what she does, she and the child she cares for will lose. She has to try. A small, desperate hope flickers within her. Perhaps if she can explain it to someone else, someone with influence, they might listen. Her target is Maria, Mr. Harrison's personal assistant, a woman who is always polite, efficient, and seems to possess a sliver of human warmth that Mr. Harrison lacks. She finds Maria in the small, immaculate office off the main foyer, finalizing the next day's schedule. "Maria, may I have a word?" Amara begins, keeping her voice low and calm. Maria looks up from her screen, a hint of impatience in her eyes. "I'm very busy, Amara." "I know. This is about Leo's assessment tomorrow," Amara says, choosing her words with extreme care. "I have some concerns about the specialist's approach. For a child with Leo's temperament, a high-pressure, drill-based evaluation could be counterproductive. It might actually set back his progress." She is offering a professional opinion, couched in the most diplomatic terms possible. She is hoping Maria will see the logic, will recognize the validity of a caregiver's on-the-ground observations. Maria's expression turns to ice. She leans back in her chair, her fingers steepled. "Amara, are you a child psychologist?" "No, but Do you have a doctorate in educational diagnostics?" "No." "Then I suggest you leave the pedagogy to the professionals." The condescension in her voice is a perfect echo of her boss's. The door she had hoped to open is slammed in her face, harder than she could have imagined. Maria sees her not as a concerned caregiver, but as an uppity employee questioning the judgment of her employer. "Mr. Harrison has vetted Dr. Albright personally," Maria continues, her voice clipped and final. He trusts her reputation, and he is paying her a small fortune for her expertise. Your job is not to have concerns. Your job is to make sure the child's face is clean and he's waiting in the playroom at 9 a.m. Do not interfere with this process again. The message is brutally clear. She is not an ally. She is a gatekeeper, fiercely loyal to the man who signs her paychecks. Amara is completely, utterly alone. The system is impenetrable. Mr. Harrison's rationale is the only one that matters here. Money buys expertise, and expertise is a title, not a practice. His need for a prestigious solution has blinded him to the simple human needs of his own son. That night, Amara can't sleep. She sits on the edge of the simple bed in her small, sterile room in the staff quarters. The feeling of impending doom is suffocating. She has failed. She tried to warn them, and they shut her down. Tomorrow, she will have to walk that little boy into a room where his spirit will be bruised, and she will have to stand by and watch. What would you sacrifice to stay true to what you know is right? Her job, her reference, her future. She looks at her own hands. For years, these hands had done the work. They had soothed fevers, tied shoelaces, and wiped away tears. They had learned to speak a silent language of comfort and trust. Tomorrow, they would be tied, forced into inaction. The feeling of powerlessness is a physical weight. But as the first hints of dawn begin to gray the sky, a different feeling begins to emerge from the depths of her despair: resolve. It is a quiet, cold, and hard as steel. If the system would not bend, she would have to find a way to break it. She would not let them break him. It was a vow made in the dark, a promise to a sleeping child and to herself. 9 a.m. arrives with the grim finality of a verdict. The playroom, usually a space of cautious hope and quiet connection, has been transformed into a clinical laboratory. Dr. Albright is the lead scientist, a severe woman with sharp, intelligent eyes and a smile that doesn't reach them. She is dressed in a crisp navy suit, a stark contrast to Amara's soft gray uniform. She exudes an aura of expensive, unassailable confidence. Mr. Harrison stands near the door, arms crossed over his chest, his face a mask of anxious expectation. He is a client waiting to be presented with a diagnosis, a problem neatly defined and ready for solving. And in the center of the room, sitting in a small chair that suddenly looks like a throne of judgment, is Leo. He is tiny, fragile, a specimen under a microscope. He clutches his hands together in his lap, his knuckles white. He will not look at anyone. His gaze is fixed on a spot on the floor, his entire being coiled into a tight knot of dread. Amara stands in the corner exactly as she was instructed. Be present but invisible. Be silent. Do not interfere. Each instruction is a steel bar in the cage around her. She can feel Leo's panic radiating across the room, a silent scream that only she seems to hear. The proving ground is set. Dr. Albright places a book on the table in front of Leo. It is not his familiar, worn copy of The Boy Who Chased the Echo. It is a new book, its pages stiff and bright, its illustrations generic. It is a tool of assessment, devoid of magic or warmth. "All right, Leo," Dr. Albright begins, her voice bright and brittle. "We're just going to read a few words together. Nice and simple. Let's start with this one." She points to the first word on the page. Leo doesn't move. He doesn't even seem to be breathing. This is the moment Amara has been dreading, the catastrophic failure engineered by the very people who claim to be helping. Her heart pounds against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat counting down to the inevitable collapse. Her plan, if you could even call it that, is terrifyingly simple. It is not a confrontation. It is a demonstration. She has assembled no evidence, prepared no speech. Her only tool is the truth of her connection with this child and the quiet competence she holds within her. This is where everything could flip. She watches, she waits, she breathes, and she prepares to step out of the shadows. "Come on, Leo, sound it out," Dr. Albright prompts, her professional smile tightening at the edges. She taps the page with a manicured fingernail. "You know this sound, ka-ah-ta, what does that make?" Leo begins to tremble. A low, keening sound escapes his throat, the noise of a small animal in a trap. His eyes, wide with terror, finally lift from the floor and dart around the room, searching for an escape. They land on Amara, a desperate, silent plea. Mr. Harrison shifts his weight, a low growl of frustration in his chest. He's doing this on purpose, he mutters, just loud enough for Amara to hear. He's exhibiting classic avoidance behaviors, Dr. Albright diagnoses coolly, making a note on her tablet. It's a refusal to engage. We see this often. Leo's breathing becomes ragged. He's hyperventilating now, his face pale, his eyes squeezed shut as if to block out the assault of expectation. He is shutting down, retreating to the only safe place he has left, the silent darkness within. This is it. Amara moves. She doesn't stride or march. She glides from her corner, a silent, graceful movement that is so at odds with the tension in the room that both Dr. Albright and Mr. Harrison are momentarily stunned into silence. She doesn't speak to them. She doesn't ask for permission. She simply kneels on the floor beside Leo's chair, entering his space with the quiet reverence of entering a sacred place. She gently takes his small, cold hand. "Leo," she whispers, her voice a low, calming hum. "Breathe with me." She places his hand on her chest, and he can feel the slow, steady rhythm of her breath. She looks not at the new, sterile book on the table, but pulls the worn, familiar copy of The Boy Who Chased the Echo from a nearby basket. She opens it to his favorite page. Then, she begins to sign. Her hands move with a fluid, articulate grace, painting the words in the air. The little boat sailed on a big, big sea. Dr. Albright lets out an indignant gasp. "What do you think you're doing? This is a controlled assessment." Amara ignores her. She holds Leo's gaze. She signs the word boat again, then gently takes his index finger and traces the shape of the letter B on his palm, the same letter she had him trace in the sand. Tactile, kinesthetic, visual, the pathways connect. Something shifts in Leo's eyes, a flicker of understanding, a tiny spark in the darkness. He looks from her hands to the page to her face. She points to the word boat and then a miracle. "BB boat," Leo whispers, the word raspy from disuse, but it is there. It is real. Amara smiles, a radiant, beautiful thing. She signs the next word. "C." She traces an S on his palm. "SC," he says, his voice a little stronger. He reads. He reads the whole sentence. His breathing evens out. The terror recedes from his eyes, replaced by a dawning, wondrous pride. The room is utterly, profoundly silent, save for the sound of the little boy's voice finally unlocked. Dr. Albright is staring, her mouth slightly agape, her clinical certainty completely shattered. Her charts and protocols have been rendered meaningless by a simple, profound act of human connection. Mr. Harrison has not moved from his spot by the door, but his posture has changed. His arms are no longer crossed. They hang limply at his sides. His face, once a mask of arrogant frustration, is now a portrait of stunned, raw, unadulterated awe. He is looking at his son, truly seeing him for the first time. And then he looks at Amara, the quiet woman in the gray uniform, and he sees not the help but a healer. Did you feel that shift? The foundation of his world has just cracked, and the power in the room, once so firmly in his grasp, has moved to the woman kneeling on the floor. Dr. Albright is the first to recover. Flustered, she attempts to reclaim her authority, to fit this anomaly into her rigid framework. "While this is an interesting coping mechanism," she says, her voice strained, "it's an unorthodox crutch. It's not a sustainable strategy for mainstream literacy. We need to focus on phonemic decoding." Mr. Harrison doesn't even look at her. His eyes are still fixed on his son, who is now pointing at the picture of the boat and signing the word to Amara, a small, happy smile on his face. He raises a hand, a quiet, dismissive gesture. "Thank you for your time, doctor. We're done here." The dismissal is so quiet, so absolute, that Dr. Albright is left momentarily speechless. She gathers her tablet and her pride and with a stiff, indignant nod sees herself out. The heavy wooden door clicks shut behind her, a sound of finality. The playroom is silent again, but this silence is different. It's warm, intimate. It holds the echo of a breakthrough. Mr. Harrison slowly walks over, his expensive shoes sinking into the rug. He stops a few feet away, looking down at Amara and his son. The arrogance is gone, replaced by a humbling, painful confusion. "What was that?" he asks, his voice barely a whisper. "Where did you learn to do that?" Amara gently closes the book and helps Leo from his chair. She finally stands and faces her employer, meeting his gaze not with triumph, but with a calm, steady grace. "My master's degree is in speech-language pathology," she says simply. My thesis was on the role of multimodal learning, like sign language and tactile feedback, in overcoming anxiety-based literacy blocks. The confession hangs in the air between them. The woman he had dismissed as unqualified, the woman he had forbidden from playing educator, possessed a depth of expertise that dwarfed that of the expensive specialist he had hired. The irony is crushing, and he has the decency to look ashamed. He opens his mouth, then closes it. An apology seems too small, an offer of a raise too insulting. He looks lost. I had no idea. You never asked, she replies, not as an accusation, but as a simple statement of fact. This is the moment she could demand anything. She holds all the cards. She could demand an apology, a new title, a massive salary increase. She could bask in his humiliation. But revenge is a hollow victory. What does real justice look like here? It isn't about punishing the man who misjudged her. It's about protecting the child who trusted her. She makes her choice. Soft justice. Leo isn't broken, Mr. Harrison, she says, her voice gentle but firm. He doesn't need an aggressive intervention. He needs a different pathway. The one you've been forcing him down is full of stones he can't climb. Let me build him a new one, a path that works for him. And for Chloe, too. Let me design a real plan, one based on who they are, not who a schedule says they should be. Her request is not for herself. It is for them. It's not about restitution. It's about reconstruction. He stares at her, the quiet caregiver in the gray uniform, and for the first time he sees a visionary. The change is immediate and absolute. That very afternoon, Mr. Harrison calls Amara back to his office. This time he asks her to sit. The laminated, color-coded schedule, the tyrannical grid that has governed his children's lives, is lying on the glass desk. This is gone, he says, sliding it into the recycling bin. The gesture is small, but the significance is seismic. He is surrendering his failed system, his belief that a childhood can be optimized like a stock portfolio. You were right. I was wrong. I was so focused on the metrics that I couldn't see the child. He pushes a blank notepad and a pen across the desk. You said you could build a new path, so build it. Whatever you need, resources, materials, my time, you have it. I am officially scrapping every single tutor and program I had in place. This is the restitution. Not a check, but a transfer of power. He is ceding control of his children's educational philosophy to her. Over the next week, Amara works. She doesn't just create a new schedule, she creates a new ethos. The result is a 20-page document she formally titles, The Harrison Twins Integrated Literacy Plan. It is a masterpiece of pediatric educational design. It isn't a rigid timetable, but a fluid framework. It replaces cognitive play, logic puzzles, with sensory story building. It swaps Mandarin language immersion drills with global music and movement, where they learn songs in different languages. Central to the plan is the formal integration of American Sign Language ASL as a complementary language for both twins, recognizing it as a tool for expression and kinesthetic learning, not just a crutch for Leo. The plan outlines specific, observable goals, but it prioritizes the child's emotional state over rigid adherence to a timeline. It includes sections on parental partnership, with clear guidelines for how Mr. Harrison can engage with his children's learning in a positive, supportive way. She presents the bound document to him at the end of the week. He reads it from cover to cover, a slow, profound understanding dawning on his face. He looks up from the final page, his eyes shining with a respect she has never seen before. This is. He struggles for the word. Brilliant. This is what we'll do. The rulebook has been officially and completely rewritten. The systemic change is concrete and documented, named and implemented. It is a system built not on condescension and control, but on expertise, empathy, and the quiet, revolutionary idea that a child's well-being is the only metric that matters. A few weeks later, the late afternoon sun casts long, golden shadows across the penthouse's rooftop garden. The air is warm and smells of damp earth and blooming lavender. There is no schedule here. There are no flashcards, no timers. Amara is sitting on a low stone bench, watching the twins. They are not doing a lesson. They are planting marigold seeds in a large terracotta pot. Their hands are covered in rich, dark soil. Leo, who once flinched at any new sensory experience, is laughing as a worm wriggles across his palm. Chloe looks at a small, buzzing creature hovering over the lavender. "What's that one?" she asks. Leo doesn't speak. He looks at the insect, then at his hands. He carefully forms a sign, his index finger touching his thumb, the other fingers fanned out and fluttering like wings. "B." Amara smiles and signs back. "Bumblebee." Leo grins, a wide, joyful expression that transforms his entire face. He turns to his sister, who has been learning the signs alongside him, and proudly repeats the sign. She mimics him, her movements a little clumsy but enthusiastic. In this single, peaceful moment, there is more learning, more communication, and more pure joy than in 100 hours of forced tutoring. This is Amara's healing. It is not a public apology or a new contract that mends the wounds of being misjudged. It is this. It is seeing the tangible results of her work in the relaxed shoulders and easy laughter of a child who was once trapped in a cage of anxiety. It is the quiet hum of a healthy, thriving ecosystem that she helped to create. She has reclaimed her identity not just as an educator, but as a nurturer, whose voice helped you heal when no one was there to clap for you. For Amara, it was the quiet, confident voice of a little boy, finally free to speak in a language all his own. One evening, Mr. Harrison has a guest, an older, distinguished-looking man named Mr. Abernathy, who Amara recognizes from a photo in the lobby of the twins' elite private school. He's a senior member of the Board of Trustees. As Amara is bringing a tray of coffee into the living room, Mr. Harrison stops her. In the past, he would have ignored her or given a curt nod. Tonight, he turns to his guest with an easy smile. "Mr. Abernathy, I'd like you to meet someone," he says, his tone suffused with genuine pride. He gestures toward Amara. "This is Miss Amara Clark. She is our family's literacy director." The title is new. He had asked her permission to use it the week before. It is not nanny or caregiver. It is professional, specific, and accurate. "Miss Amara," he continues, "is the architect of that multisensory learning program I was telling you about, the one that has completely transformed my son's engagement with reading." Mr. Abernathy turns to Amara, his expression shifting from polite indifference to genuine interest. "A pleasure to meet you, Miss Clark. Arthur was just telling me about your innovative use of integrated sign language. It sounds fascinating." Mr. Harrison steps back slightly, ceding the floor to her. "Amara, could you perhaps walk Mr. Abernathy through the core principles of the framework? He's particularly interested in the tactile feedback components." The recognition is perfect. It is not grandstanding or performative. It is a quiet, professional acknowledgement of her specific competence. He is not taking credit for her work. He is amplifying it. He is giving her a platform, opening a door. Amara spends the next 10 minutes discussing her methodology with the school trustee, speaking with the calm, articulate confidence of an expert in her field. Mr. Abernathy is captivated, asking intelligent, insightful questions. "This is extraordinary," he says finally. "Truly. Would you be willing to share a copy of your plan with our academic board? I think there are several children at our school who could benefit immensely from this approach." A door, once slammed shut by a dismissive assistant, has just been opened to a whole new world of possibility. Her work, born of a quiet, desperate act to protect one child, now has the potential to help countless others. The playroom is no longer a sterile white box. It has been transformed into a vibrant, creative space filled with textures, colors, and the happy hum of learning. On a low bookshelf against one wall, 2 books sit side by side, a testament to the journey they have all taken. One is the old, familiar copy of The Boy Who Chased the Echo. Its cover is soft from countless readings, its corners frayed. It is the book that started it all, a symbol of the painful block that once held Leo captive. It is no longer a source of anxiety, but a memento of a battle won. Next to it sits a new book. It is professionally printed and bound with a glossy, vibrant cover. The title, in bold, cheerful letters, reads, "Leo and Chloe's Book of Signs." The illustration shows 2 smiling children, a boy with dark, curly hair and a girl with a bright, mischievous grin, their hands forming the sign for story. Amara designed it herself, working with a graphic artist to create a visual dictionary of their favorite signs. Did the object's meaning change for you too? The book, once a symbol of a universal standard Leo couldn't meet, has been replaced by a book that celebrates his unique language. Leo clambers onto the small sofa, the new book in his hands. He opens it to a page with a large, colorful drawing of a sunflower. Next to it is a simple diagram showing how to make the sign. He doesn't need the diagram. He looks at Amara, a twinkle in his eye, and his hands move with confident grace, creating a small, blooming sun in the air. Then he looks down at the word printed below the picture. Sunflower, he reads aloud, his voice clear and bright, each syllable a perfect, triumphant note. The echo of his former struggle has faded, replaced by the strong, confident sound of his own voice. The symbol has been transformed from a lock to a key. The final image of the story is one of quiet, earned peace. The vast, white wall in the playroom where the rigid, color-coded schedule once hung is now a story wall. It is a floor-to-ceiling corkboard, a chaotic and beautiful mosaic of the children's lives. It's covered in Chloe's sprawling, imaginative drawings, Leo's carefully traced letters, story maps they created together, and dozens of photographs, the twins in the garden with dirt-stained hands, their fingers signing worm, Leo at the aquarium signing fish to a passing shark, Chloe teaching her father the sign for family. It is a living, breathing document of their progress, a testament to a philosophy that celebrates process over perfection. Amara sits on the floor, leaning against the sofa, the twins nestled beside her. They are reading a book together, their heads bent close. Every few sentences, one of them will pause to sign a word, a natural, integrated part of their shared language. The room is filled with a soft, warm light and the gentle murmur of their voices. Mr. Harrison stands in the doorway, unseen by them. He is not the thundercloud in the bespoke suit from the beginning of the story. His tie is loosened, his jacket is off. He leans against the doorframe, a quiet smile on his face. He is not observing a scheduled activity. He is simply watching his children be happy. He watches the woman who made it possible, the woman he once saw as a functionary and now sees as the very heart of his home. The house is no longer a high-tech incubator for success. It is a home. The system has not just been changed, it has been healed. Amara's legacy is not in a title or a salary. It is in the joyful noise of this room, in the confidence of a little boy who found his voice, and in the quiet gratitude of a father who finally learned to listen. Sometimes, the quietest revolutions are the most profound, aren't they? The room is different now. It is forever changed.